Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the marketplace. Coming up, Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam says government is poised to build economic resilience despite the current shocks. We have more from his update on the economy, including measures to tackle the city's decline.
We've seen month-on-month depreciation coming down against the dollar from 6.1% in May this year, 3.1% in June this year, and then to 2.1% in July this year.
Meanwhile, government has posted 700 million cedis to pay customers whose monies was locked up in fund management companies after the financial sector cleanup exercise.
I'm glad to inform you that the Ministry of Finance has processed the release for the first tranche of 700 million Ghana cedis of the additional 1.5 billion Ghana cedis for the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Plus, a Greek economist suggests food purchasing regime to preempt food inflation induced by dry spell.
Food prices are going to rise again. Now, government has promised to also import additional grains into the country. Already we are struggling with exchange rate issues.
My name is Darryl Kwao. Details coming up. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam says government is poised to build economic resilience despite the current shocks. He has been given an update on the economy where he touched on various topics, including the performance of the cedi. Listen.
The cedi cumulatively depreciated against the US dollar by 21.5% as at 26 August 2024, compared with 22.1% recorded in the same period of August in 2023. The cedi's depreciation is, however, easing as the month-on-month depreciation against the US dollar improved significantly from 6.1% in May 2024 to 3.1% in June 2024, and further improved to 2.1% in July 2024. So we've seen month-on-month depreciation coming down against the dollar from 6.1% in May this year, 3.1% in June this year, and then to 2.1% in July this year. If this trend continues, then we can assure you that our cedi will continue to hold against the major currencies. The cedi's relative stability is largely explained by tight monetary policy by the Bank of Ghana, the strong fiscal consolidation, intensification of the Gold for Oil program, and the Bank of Ghana's Gold for Reserves program.
And some of the headlines from the minister's briefing this afternoon. The minister also revealed government was undertaking Eurobond debt exchange in the coming days, which should save the country some $4.4 billion. He was also positive Ghana is on course to meet the IMF target for the release of the fourth tranche of funds. And also, in what would be some good news for customers of defunct financial institutions, the minister mentioned the release of some 700 million cedis to bail them out. Take a listen to that.
We had indicated in the 2024 mid-year review of fiscal policy presented in July 2024 that Cabinet had granted approval for the disbursement of an additional 1.5 billion Ghana cedis to provide relief and bailout for those whose funds have been locked up in the fund management companies. I'm glad to inform you that the Ministry of Finance has processed the release for the first tranche of 700 million Ghana cedis of the additional 1.5 billion Ghana cedis for the Securities and Exchange Commission to further bail out the remaining customers whose funds were locked up, including Black Shield Fund Management Limited customers. Yesterday, I instructed the Controller and Accountant General to release the funds to mitigate the stress on affected persons. The 1.5 billion Ghana cedis will be released in 3 tranches. This amount will bring the number of investors to be fully settled under the Black Shield Limited to 82,096 customers, representing 92%.
All right, let's bring in Professor Williams Pepa, who is Associate Professor of Finance at the Andrews University. Good afternoon to you. Your reaction to the briefing, what stood out to you?
Good news coming in, some money being released to pay for people who have their investment locked up. This is going to help solve a lot of financial challenges that Ghanaians are facing. We know, especially Black Shield or Gold Coast investors, this is coming at a good news and at the right time. The only caution is that as these funds are released, it may have a ripple effect of causing an inflationary pressures, and also a little bit of putting, if these investors decide to also go in the line of investing in other foreign currencies, it may cause a little bit devaluation. I know that the government may have some political agenda for releasing the fund at this time, because this is one of the campaign issues being talked about. So, I mean, this is good news, but its effect is that if it's not well managed, it may lead up to increasing inflation moving up.
All right. He also touched on the cedi. I mean, it was one of the first things he talked about as we continue to watch his performance against major trading currencies this week. As of now, year to date, it's declined 24.61%. On the Forex retail market, it's going for 16 cedis, 15 pesos to the dollar. Your thoughts on what he had to say about the cedi and then the measures to stabilize it? He seems positive. He struck a positive tone that the cedi holds steady against major foreign currencies.
Look at his argument. He was making an argument on the line of the rate of depreciation month-on-month basis. On that basis, you will notice that that kind of speed or rapid depreciation of the cedi, it has declined. It is not moving as it was in last year. So that is why he is confident that if the rate of depreciation keeps on reducing, the overall impact is that the cedi will find its stability against other major foreign currencies. He also mentioned that giving hopes that the inflows coming from World Bank and IMF of roughly about, if you put the two together, $350 million, say around $700 million, gives some futuristic confidence that we should not panic. There is foreign currency coming into the economy. So that is where I see that he's having that hope, and on paper, it is true. We need these funds to come in at this time, because this is normally in the looking at the trend for Ghana. Currencies start devaluing from August to somewhere December because of importation of Christmas items, and these are the reasons why his confidence is turning out from that. We are expecting some funds coming in, and it's going to hold up the cedi.
You know, when we spoke on Monday, you asked us to wait and see what happens in the course of the week till Wednesday. Today is Thursday. Like I point out, it's 16 cedis, 15 pesos. I mean, what's your understanding of what's happening on the market right now?
From understanding, still there's some kind of little bit of not confidence from the side of foreign currency traders or those who need the funds. I have not seen the data whether truly the central bank was able to release some funds to the commercial bank. That is why we are seeing this pressure. But I still have a strong confidence that the 16 cities may have to come down a little bit to roughly the 15 column when these funds are made available onto the market.
And in the midst of this, we have to deal with a dry spell. The minister described it as an emergency situation. The government is going to have to import food. It's placed a ban on the export of some grains. That could potentially impact inflation and the city's performance as well. And so it doesn't look good going forward, does it?
I mean, so we have the doubles, like we have two main situations. If government does not intervene now, food prices are going to increase rapidly, and the impact will be very consequential, especially if we need grains to eat and we cannot find them to also give to the poultry to grow the poultry farm economy and stuff. So this is as you said, is an emergency and we need it now. If you look at our basket for calculating inflation, the food inflation is a major contributor to the drive of inflation. So that is why that even though importing food items may call in for foreign currencies and it's a little bit of pressure on the city, if you weigh the benefits, it's better to import to control food inflation now and to allow it to be as it is. And this is something, a natural disaster. No one has control over it. So what the government is doing is that it's making sure that we survive. We need to survive as citizens, and then we will think about inflation, exchange rate devaluation in the next world.
Well,
so
I
this
agree.
is very important.
Survival is very important. Last topic I wanted to touch on the debt front. He talked about the Eurobond debt exchange, which is it is undertaken in the coming days. Is going to save the government some $4.4 billion, he says. And then he says we're on track to meeting our targets for the release of the next tranche of the IMF funds. And that sounds good.
I mean, this is a good thing. This time, the finance minister got his maths right. The last time he spoke on a political platform, he mentioned $8 billion. So now we are all in agreement that what we are anticipating is $4 billion in terms of savings.
Yeah.
So he got it right. And that is what we are believing in. The discussion, as we all know, within 3 weeks, 21 days, is something positive. I'm sure all the issues have been addressed. If you listen to his speech, he mentioned that they have incorporated some options that the external investors provided into their agreement. And the ultimate aim is that by 2028, we should get to a debt to GDP ratio of 55%. And that is the plan, and it's within the IMF program. We have done a little bit well with the targets set by IMF. If you look at the evaluations, we are on course. Just a little bit challenged with our debt levels. That is where we need to address, and we hope that if we're able to conclude this external debt restructuring, then we have been able to fulfill the major part of the quantitative analysis, and then we see what will happen to the qualitative side of events.
Well,
don't forget, in an election year, within the next 3 months, a lot of things can change. So we are watching the finance minister to be disciplined.
30 seconds, if you can. What would you describe is the state of our economy right now?
We are getting to a point of stability in 30 seconds. Getting to a point of stability.
That was below 30 seconds. That was like 10. Thank you so much, Professor Uyazwepua, Associate Professor of Finance, Andrews University. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time with us here on the marketplace. And so, as we talk about the dry spell, and our Greek economist, Professor Robert Edu, is suggesting the adoption of a food purchasing regime by the government to preempt food inflation in the coming months amidst a ban on export of essential grains. The Ministry of Food and Agriculture effected a ban on the exports of maize, rice, and soybeans as part of measures against the possible impact of the prevailing dry spell that has since devastated several farms in 8 regions of the country. But Professor Edu assessed the farmers will only subscribe to the ban if government buys the local commodities at competitive prices to avoid hoarding, which could lead to inflated food prices. Here's more in this report.
The prevailing dry spell has destroyed many farmlands, bringing about little to low farm yields. To avert a possible food crisis, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture announced plans to tap into the ECOWAS grain reserves and other private partnerships to supplement the country's grain stocks. Agric economist Professor Robert Edu warns of forex impacts if food imports become necessary with threats of food price hikes.
We expect that food prices are going to rise again. Now, government has promised to also import additional grains into the country. Already we are struggling with exchange rate issues, and so you now have to go and get a lot of foreign exchange to go and bring in this, putting a lot of pressure on the already struggling CD. I'm not sure whether government will immediately get enough to bring in this. Already we are struggling with reserves. So if they have money, fine, but it will also put a lot of pressure on the local currency. So it will reflect in depreciation of the local currency. That is it.
Professor Edu believes the imposed ban can only be effective if the government introduces a food purchasing regime to avoid hoarding by farmers.
I am just praying and hoping that government will be able to maybe buy the grains in the system at some competitive prices and then leverage on the facilities that Ghana Buffer Stock Company and Ghana Commodity Exchange, the facilities they have, so that once government gets them from farmers and they store in these facilities, they can release them onto the market at periodic times so that it can ease the prices going forward. Otherwise, if we leave it to the forces of demand and supply, what is going to happen is that those who have money now are likely to go in, then they will buy in large volumes, they will hoard it, and then when prices have escalated to certain levels, then they will bring it out and they will take advantage of the shortage and now price it at levels that will go beyond the pocket of the ordinary person.
For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright Kweku.
Right, and that's our program this afternoon. Thanks for watching. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com. More on my conversation with Govt of the Poultry Farmers Association. They're lamenting the impact of drought on production. myjoyonline.com/business. And don't forget to make a date at 4 p.m. for the hashtag Defend Media Freedom GH. That program coming up at 4 p.m. here on this channel on Joy News. Thanks for watching. We'll be back same time tomorrow.